This is The Fight Fan with your host, Pete Hoffman, and we are previewing UFC 258. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight title, being joined by Gomes, Chris Wade. You know Gomes of the Washington Nationals, and Chris Wade, former UFC fighter, potential former PFL fighter. We're not sure, but both studs. And thank you guys both for joining us on this preview.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, same here, man. Glad to be on.
So, first of all, breaking news a little bit. There was we've been talking about this Leon Edwards fight versus Chimaev for so long. And again, Chimaev with the COVID-19 issues, that's not going to happen. Disappointing. But there's rumors about who he potentially could face, whether it's Wonder Boy. I know he wants to fight Leon Edwards. There's also the Masvidal talk. There's also the Nate Diaz talk. But let's be serious. Who do we want to see Leon Edwards finally fight? It's been how long now since Edwards has fought? Who would you guys like to see him fight?
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, for me, if Masvidal's ready to go, jump on it, man. It's a sold fight. I don't think you even need to sell anything to it. These two have been talking trash to each other for a long time now. I think news came out that the Wonder Boy is not happening because I think his hand is still hurt from the
Jeff Neal fight.
So Jeff Neal fight. So for me, I mean, Masvidal will be a super fun fight. He's calling out Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz wants to trash talk. There you go, man. There's a number 3 guy to jump on.
Yeah, I am in complete agreement there. The Masvidal fight has already been sold because of the issues that they had backstage and all the talking they've done with one another. So this is the one opportunity where you take a huge built-up fight. It's almost kind of like when Diaz stepped in with McGregor, not quite, that big, but you have an opportunity to take something that the fans really want to see. You just insert it. It was a big letdown, and now everybody's going to be back into it because when you put Masvidal in, especially when there's a situation with trash talk, you got fireworks right away.
So my question to you, though, is I know that the UFC is playing on this tough enough, the tough to come back. Like, that's one of their big things. They want to launch that. And there's rumors it's going to be a welterweight matchup. And it's rumored that Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal could be the coaches for that. Which is a bigger fight, the Colby Masvidal, or are we talking the Leon Edwards Masvidal?
I mean, I think that's a different boat. I mean, if it's the rumors of getting Covington and Masvidal, that's going to be a huge pay-per-view. That's going to be and then we talked about this. You can throw the Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, just do a BMF card. Just throw all these guys in and just go for it. But for me, Leon Edwards needs to be super smart about who he fights against here because he has been out for a long time. He can't just somebody's going to jump in and say, hey, I'll fight Leon. I don't care. I'll take the money. And then Leon goes out there, fights me. He's not going to get the credit he deserves. I think he needs to – I know he wants to stay on the card. I think he needs to take a big fight, whoever it is, go up, go whatever it is. Obviously not go down. That's going to be a little bit tougher than that. But I think he needs to be aware of who he takes this fight with.
Peter, are they talking a date for that tough
They haven't talked about it yet, but I know that Leon Edwards is not moving off the March 13th fight. Like, he's sticking with that. That's what he's going to do. So,
yeah, because I would think that with the entire BMF thing going on, Masvidal, that even if they did that and they ran those two guys as coaches, I still think both those things could work and you could have this fight. I don't see – this is so close. We're talking about something that's in the near future. So unless somebody was injured like really badly, I don't see why it would interfere with that production taking place. And you're right. If Covington winds up being the coach on that, oh man, that's the way you need to start that show back up, is with a guy like that that's going to give you that's
gonna go back to the Conor McGregor vibe, the McGregor Uriah Faber. I mean, I know they didn't fight in the end, but that was like the show. Like that brought it back, no question, to like the original form.
Wasn't it like Tito and Ken? Didn't they coach and like get And weren't they like, that's when he ripped the door down or like punched the door down?
Was that the season? I can't remember
think
that
it
season,
was.
but that dude, the beginning,
Yeah.
the early on seasons were ridiculous. You just named them.
Mhm.
They were the crazy, the rampage on the show, just nuts stuff, you
They're
know?
insane. People were getting bombed, like bomb drunk, pranking each
Yes.
other, smoking cigarettes before the fights.
Let me bang, bro. Was that Julian Lane? Let me bang,
Yep,
bro.
let
I
me
mean, come
bang,
on.
bro. Yeah.
So, but and then in other news too, Dana announced, I believe today, I think it was the news that John Jones is in line for Stipe and Francis. Whoever wins that, John Jones is in line. Now, I know, Jan, you have been all on the John Jones Stipe Miocic fight. Does that get you going? Does that excite you, or did you wish that he could have just cut the line and just skip over Francis?
No, because I think the more you think about it, Francis on the heavyweight circuit, he did deserve that. I feel like he deserved the title shot. The guy went on a rampage. He was killing everyone that he was fighting. The only thing that's funny to me, and it's kind of like, okay, Dana, you're really showing who runs the show here. 'Cause, I mean, John Jones is calling. He's like, hey, I got the next heavyweight title. Like, who does that? You know, like. But no, it's exciting. I think John Jones has said he wants to fight at the heavyweight, and I think there's no better matchup for him at the heavyweight.
I agree. Chris, what about you? What do you think?
I agree. I think that wherever John interjects himself, there's going to be buzz. There's going to be fireworks, and I think that he's reigned champion at light heavy for so long that even though you have some guy like up and coming guys and some vets where everyone knows their name, the buzz just isn't there that much anymore. And it looks. I wrestled with him going back to high school. We won a state title the same year, John and I, and he's always more up, it seems, and more excited by like it's almost like he's bored with that division and it's affecting his performance. Those legends that he needed to prove himself up against, and that trilogy, the battle that he had going on with Cormier, it's all gone. Like all his motivation is sapped out of that division. So I think when we see him at heavyweight, you're going to see him reinvigorated. He has something to prove. These guys are bigger. They're more dangerous. Stipe and Ngannou, I mean, they could hit you with one shot and it's a wrap.
Yep.
So,
Chris, it's funny because you talk about that, like the Dom Reyes fight, the Thiago Santos fight, like they didn't seem like the normal John Jones. Like the Anthony Smith fight, that was vintage John Jones. But like since then, it's just been like lackluster. So I guess you're right. The challenge is there. Do you think the vintage John Jones will be back versus whether it's Francis or Stipe?
I do. I really truly do, because the danger, when you add that element of danger of that kind of like knockout defeat, I think that it's going to get him going again big time.
I agree. Yep.
Well, UFC 258 is tomorrow. Huge fight for Kamaru Usman. He defended his title versus Masvidal last minute. Now Gilbert Burns. They've had to reschedule this a couple times. Former teammates, and now both of you can speak to this. Like Jan, Chris Wade's rocking the Met hat, but you're going to be facing former teammates in Lindor and Carrasco and whatnot this year. And Chris, you've obviously faced your team. In the gym, you face each other, but like in the cage, it's got to be a different feeling to be going up against somebody for a title that you've been working so hard with, no?
Yeah, this is another situation where our affiliate gym, with the gym that I own, Long Island MMA, and LaFleur and I, we own it together. He owns Farmingdale, but we own Islip together. Our affiliate gym down south is their gym. It's changed names. I think it's Sanford MMA now. They linked up with a new sponsor, but it was Blackzilian before that, and we would cross train all the time. So Kamaru and Gilbert became training partners and friends of ours, not to the extent of our local guys like Iaquinta or whatever the case may be, but nonetheless, we were spending weeks at a clip down there. They would come up here for seminars as well. So this is tough. Like our gym has been talking about this for the last 2-3 weeks, saying like, oh man, who are you going with? Like, this is tough. Are you going to say anything publicly? Are you going to keep your mouth shut? He's like, we don't want those guys angry at us, like picking sides. And we're just kind of taking Henry's approach, who's the striking coach down there. We wish them both the best, but this is definitely doing a number, I think, on that friendship, because you're trying to take someone's legacy from them. This is very personal. It's hard to recover from something like that.
Jan, what about you?
Yeah, no. So I was with Cleveland for 6 years, and it was until 17 and 18 when we started facing different guys. We had a couple relievers and closers go to a different team, to where we spent a lot of time. We formed friendships. All of our wives are best friends. Like, we're good buddies. For a minute, it just felt like it was kind of like a joke. I mean, obviously, in a fighting world, you can't take it like that, because the other guy might, come take your head off. But, I was facing like Brian Shaw, who went with the Rockies. He was with Cleveland for a long time. And we both look at each other, and I was like kind of laughing and smiling, but I'm like, yeah, I'm still trying, because he's a closer, or a setup guy. So it's still a serious at bat, but I didn't actually like it as much as I thought I would. But then after kind of those kind of moments goes away, and then you kind of, it's just back to business. He's trying to make his money. I'm trying to make my money. We're trying to get our team to win, same way he is. You can't kind of let your guard down, try to be a nice friend. You for us, we're not. The biggest thing that I kind of like admire about you guys in the MMA world is, I mean, you'll see it 90% of the time. You guys are absolutely tearing each other's head off, and then the fight ends, and you guys shake hands, be like, "Hey, great fight! You punched me in the face really hard. That was great." I think it's awesome. I wrestled back in high school and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, it still wasn't. I wasn't like, I think the judge would be like, "Hey, shake his hand," and it was just kind of because that's you're a pissed off guy, kind of going at it. But it was one of those things where, at the end of the day, you guys are so professional, and you guys can't put that aside at the end of the fight. I mean, for us, it's a little bit different. You get me out, whatever. I have one of my best friends that I face. I'm like 1 for 7 off of him, but I hit a home run off of him.
There you go.
So like, it's one of those things, So but I mean, at the end of the day, we get another at bat. I mean, I don't know how many times you can get a crack at one guy, your best friend or whatever it is, but I do like.
Who is it that you're 1 for 7 off of? Who is it? Tell us. Come on.
I led myself into that one. Luke Hotraver.
Oh, yeah.
He's a starter and then reliever for the Kansas City Royals. He's actually one of my best friends. I'm actually going to dinner at his house tonight, so don't tell him.
I won't rub it in. I won't. We talk about, though, that they are friends and they know each other so well. You see the ride that Gilbert Burns has been on recently, beat Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, both two good fighters on the ground and whatnot. Woodley a little bit more known for his striking skills. Kamaru, though, besides that Colby Covington fight, he's more of a wrestler, grinder on the ground. How do you see this fight going? Do we see more of a stand-up fight, do you guys think? Or is this going to be more of like that typical Kamaru Usman fighting on the ground?
You want to take it first, Jan?
The way I kind of see it going, I think Usman kind of showed that he can strike a little bit, and he's the kind of guy that he's not scared to be taken down, because I know he can. I don't think he's ever been taken down, right? And ever, I don't think he's ever. Him, I think I just saw somewhere him and Khabib on ground control are like 97, 98% of ground. So I don't think he's scared of going to the ground. The only thing is he's definitely going to have to be aware of Gilbert Burns absolutely coming with, those big haymakers, big throws that he does. But it's one of those things. They both pretend to. I mean, they know each other. They were teammates, but I think the game plan going into it, I think Kamaru is going to. I think he's just going to outsmart him and outclass him the way he does, everybody.
Most everybody, yeah. So I have a little bit of a different spin on it, and Kamaru, I have the utmost respect for Kamaru, but there is a dynamic here, right? There's a couple at play. So you're dealing with one guy who's a wrestler, almost impossible to take down, with very, very solid striking in Kamaru. Then you have Gilbert, who's like man on fire. He's been possessed seemingly since he left the 55 division, right? In 55, he was like kind of middling. He was doing well, but the weight cut was really tough on him, and he's just been like, you could see the crazy in his eyes after the fights end. He does that thing where he looks into the camera, right? He's on this like otherworldly mission right now, and I think that the fact that these two guys, literally, I used to watch them spar one another every day that I was down there. They were doing rounds with each other. Their familiarity with each other is so extensive that they both know what the other guy is going to be looking to do for the most part. So what I think is going to happen is Gilbert is an expert on the ground, right, with jiu-jitsu. Kamaru is an expert on top with control. But as a wrestler, I grew up a wrestler. I know that if someone's that aggressive off their back, right, and they're that much of a pain in the ass, you are going to look to avoid those situations. Maybe look to see him use a takedown late in rounds to see if he can take a round with the judges, but you're not going to see him go for an open mat takedown on Gilbert, where Gilbert can start to throw triangles up, arm bars up. He doesn't want to really probably play that game with him. So I think you're going to see basically a glorified brawl, like a kickboxing fight take place, similar to what you saw with Colby and Kamaru, because the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu kind of negate each other. So this is going to come down to who's the better man on the feet, I think.
I feel like that happens more than we expect. Like, again, when I saw that Colby Covington Kamaru Usman fight, I was excited. I'm like, these two guys can basically control the mat, get the fight to the ground and control it. It's like you're waiting for that to happen, and they just stand for 5 rounds. I told that to Colby Covington. I'm not sure if I told you, Jan, but I told Colby Covington, I said to him, like, dude, you stepped in shit when you fought Damian Maia, because that's like a legit, like, I'm ready for grappling. It's going to be a great, like, ground chess match and whatnot. And you stood and and threw punches for 3 rounds. Like, that's not what I expected. So you kind of lucked out on that, I thought. But it's weird how that happens more than not. And I think it's because, again, you said, Chris, they cancel each other out. Any other fights on this card? I mean, it's a pretty good, solid card, in my opinion. I love the Kelvin Gastelum and Hennish fight. Anything that sticks out to you, Jan, that you're really looking forward to?
I think the one that you just named, I kind of like to see Kelvin get a little bit of his mojo back. I feel like, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, to this day, he's one of the guys that kind of gave Israel a good fight. He actually stood toe for toe with him, moved around. It was just such a different size advantage. And, obviously Israel's unbelievable at stand-up, and the guy can do some really crazy things. And I think also, like, Heineck just, like, on that rise, you kind of expect him to do well, and then he comes out and throws like a big old overhand, and next thing you know, guys are but really, I'm excited about, seriously, like, every single fight. But yeah, the Kelvin Gastelum fight for me is one of that I like to really see Kelvin do well.
It's funny because the Kelvin fight, like, you see what he did versus Chris Weidman and how Weidman was able to dominate him so much. But again, like, as Chris Weidman is today, I don't know if he would stand toe to toe with Israel Adesanya the way that Kelvin Gastelum was able to do. So it's just weird, these matchups. You can never do MMA math, in my opinion. Chris, what about you? What do you see as a good fight on this card?
So for me, I'm going to go with Alex Grasso and Macy Barber. That fight to me is very intriguing because you have Macy on one end, who before she took her last loss, she was just talking and talking and talking, and she wanted Paige before Paige left, and she was really trying to make a big name for herself, and she was on that big finish streak, I believe, right? And then and then she took a decision loss to Roxanne, right?
Did she tear her knee or something like that? Was that her that did something to the knee injury?
She did, yeah, but it was one of those situations that reminded me of the Chandler fight when he got kicked in the nerve, and then
Yeah.
or the fight with
Sean,
Was it O'Malley?
O'Malley.
Sugar
Yeah, O'Malley, where, these things happen in the fight and they kind of say it's an injury, but like, you were injured by the strike. If
Right.
your eye broke because of a strike, the fight would just be over, right? So Alex Grasso, I've known of her just being on the same card as her a couple times, and she's so humble, so hardworking, so quiet, and she just goes about her business. And I know she's a very slight favorite over her, but I really think you're gonna see her put it on Barber. I think that's for as even as the bets are coming off on that, I really think that Grasso's the pick there to just kind of derail that whole Macy Barber hype train that was going.
Yeah, Macy.
I fell for the hype train. Hey, Pete, I like to change my pick.
Oh yes. Chris, I haven't told you, we do picks every week. So I get picks from Jan, I get picks from Michael Carter Williams, gave me picks before. Arthur Motes is involved too. So every guest that we have has to give me picks. You have to give me picks. We go by percentage base. It doesn't. I pick every single fight. I think I'm like 57% right now. It's not fantastic, but we're getting up there. So
for picking every fight, that's pretty solid. You want to be like 10% over, right?
Yeah, listen, I'm great with the undercard. The main card kind of screws me here and there.
Yeah,
it's tough, dude. It's MMA is one of those things where you just can't. You just literally don't know. Like the biggest favorites get knocked out more than you think, dude. Conor McGregor, I couldn't believe. I told everybody. My buddy here on WFAN, John Jastrzemski, you definitely know him.
Yeah, I know.
He's got a big odds-on show and whatnot. I'm telling him, like, dude, these numbers are ridiculous. Like Conor's getting like minus 320 or whatever it is. I'm like, does anybody know how good Dustin Poirier is? Does anybody? The casuals clearly don't know. So it's like it's still a sport where people just don't understand yet completely.
Hey, I'll take it though. I made a big pick on Dustin. I saw he reminds me of what's going on with Gilbert right now. He's just in that like lock-in mode. I knew I saw that coming from a mile away.
Mm-hmm. I did as well. We talked about this. The whole thing with Dustin was like, he learned so much from every fight. It has been unbelievable. I mean, some of the guys that he's taken losses to, you think about it, you shouldn't even, be in the same conversations now, but he's come out and like absolutely gone to war with a lot of guys and come out on top.
Dude, you talk about Michael Johnson was the one who last knocked out Dustin Poirier. We just see Clay Guida basically demolish Johnson. Like he was just the energy for like a 39-year-old. I'm like, dude, I'm like a year away from that. I have zero energy. That guy is a beast. That guy's crazy. And real quickly, I just have to talk about it because like we talk about crazy fights and crazy knockouts. The Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. I mean, that I just was devastated. My wife was next to me. She thought he was dead. And, dude, you guys know how that is. Like, we've seen so many fights, so many scary things. That was cleaner than the Masvidal knee, if I'm correct. That was dead on the chin. Obviously, the punches afterwards with Masvidal really took that Askren knockout further. But Frankie that was bad. That's as bad as you can get. I mean, unless Chris, have you seen anything worse than that?
Well, it reminded me kind of what happened to Aljo with the Marias fight, right, where he kind of slipped into that knee where it was supposed to be a kick. And it was a different setup, but just like how flush it landed, it hurt to watch because when I started in this sport, Frankie Edgar, he's been like kind of like my idol within the sport, and the person that I looked up to the most. He was always like my favorite fighter, just how he would always go to war and come back and be down on a card and find a way to win. And I really thought he was a live dog in that fight. I wanted to see him make another push at a belt, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the calm of Sandhagen, where he's at right now. It's very impressive to see what, he's on a mission too, that guy. He's he's waiting, he's pacing, waiting for that Jan Sterling fight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a funny too because you see how Sterling was able to dominate Corey last time they fought. It's just like, again, it's like such a weird world that we live in when it comes to MMA. It's not. It's this math is never adds up. At least not to me.
It's kind of like baseball, though, right? It's like all matchups.
Yeah.
Like Jan may have a beat on a guy that like the guy just can't get him out. He's crushing the ball each time, and then someone else they can't pick up like their off-speed pitch, and they're just striking out constantly. It's like matchups are everything.
No, that's you said it perfectly. Like there was a time when in the Central I was facing Chris Sale, and then we will face Jose Quintana. If you know both of them, these are two completely different pitchers. Chris Sale was still is one of the best pitchers. And I had way more comfortable at bats against him for some reason. I don't know. But then you put Quintana, who's another lefty, and I'm pretty sure I'm 1 for like 30 something off of him. I'm like, dude, he would walk to get to me. I'm like, what? Like, this is the most demoralizing thing I've ever seen. I'm like, no, don't walk bases loaded to get to me, please.
So you're 1 for 30 against Quintana, but what's your numbers versus Sale? What do you know what the average is? Do you know what the?
It's probably not as good as I think it is, but I just know that I was having a little bit better at bats. I got more than one hit.
Before we go, because you got to wrap it up, anything, Jan, I know you have to head out to the spring training pretty soon. Is there anything you want to promote, anything you want to talk about?
Nah, just keep us on the lookout, man. Baseball season is about to start. Hopefully we get a clean season going, and we're excited to get it going. We're excited to travel. Hopefully protocols are a little bit better. So we get to see you guys at games. I have to have some Nationals gear for Chris and you.
Yeah. No, but Weidman's not invited. Chris Weidman's not invited.
He's gonna have to clear COVID first.
By the way, Jan, we just got approved for was it like 10%? I think, Chris, that we're allowed it starting the 23rd of February, 10% capacity at arenas. So that's going to be cool. So when you guys come to play Mets Yankees, we're gonna be able to go, which is awesome.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm stoked. And Chris, what about you? Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, just keep an eye out. I am working diligently right now to get my fight season set up. So I'm hoping to have news for my followers like really soon, within the next couple of weeks. I'm working hard. I'm training hard. So I hope that I have a fight announcement soon for all you guys. And, check out my Instagram handle and my Twitter handle. I'll definitely be posting like anything that comes across. And I'm looking forward to getting back in the stadiums and seeing some ball games now.
There you go.
Now I'm a little less against the Nationals than I was. I've been on with Jan, so looking forward to seeing him play and watching some baseball again. Love baseball. It was my first love was baseball. Ken Griffey Jr.
Awesome.
That's my idol.
There you go.
Well, guys,
awesome, man. That's exciting.
Guys, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. And let's definitely do it again. And Jan, we'll see you soon. And Chris will see you soon, too. So thanks again. You're listening to The Fight Fan with Pete Hoffman.